Joining us now for reaction is trial attorney Vikas Bajaj and partner of the Bianchi Law Group, Bob Bianchi. Vic, Bob, thank you so much for coming on. This is just an upsetting story, and let's just get to it. I didn't really have time to address this with the panelists, but bottom line, this guy should have been behind bars. And if you think that this bail reform worked out for anyone, tell that to the families of the five victims. Tell that to the families of the 48 that were injured. Tell that to the families that are still at the hospital with children literally in critical condition this hour because of this man with a rap sheet dating back to the 90s, got out on a $1,000 cash bond. What is happening here when you see the DA coming out and saying, oh, it's inappropriately low? Is this blame shifting? Vic, how do you read this situation?
This is a district attorney not taking responsibility. This is a district attorney who ran on the platform of cashless bail. And just so all of our listeners and viewers can understand, that's a movement throughout the nation to lessen the financial burden for those who are in custody who want to be out of custody. What this means in practical terms is no bail or low bail, $1,000 or $500. Now, we all understand this is a popular way to look at things and a popular way to get votes. The problem is there are practical consequences, and we even see here in Los Angeles, California, our district attorney, Gascon, is at odds with the San Diego district attorney, Summer Stephan, who is a lot tougher on crime. And of course, you can see the statistics around the nation with district attorneys who implement low cash bail and look at the recidivism of violence. It makes the communities very, very dangerous, frankly.
He has a history of already using his vehicle as a weapon on his rap sheet. We just showed you a few there. Sex offenses as well. Again, crime dating back to 1999 will face first-degree intentional homicide charges potentially today at 4 p.m. when he's in court. Bob Bianchi, your thoughts? I know you've been watching this.
Well, you know, I ran a prosecutor's office for a number of years and was an assistant prosecutor before that. And the bottom line is what we do is people need bail, that's for sure, but you do a risk assessment because you have to protect the community. And typically speaking, these liberal policies with regard to releasing people on bail typically harm communities of color more so than they do more affluent communities. So what prosecutors look for when they're assessing a bail, and what I've done thousands of times, is a risk assessment. Previous history. He's got a terrible history, violent history, weapons offenses. Open charges. He had a $10,000 bail on a charge where he ran over his girlfriend that was reduced to $500 because they couldn't get him to trial in time. It's called a speedy trial violation. You look at his risk of flight, you look at the danger to the community and failures to appear. No matter how you add up this guy's record, even if you're a liberal prosecutor, you have got to look at this guy as a disaster waiting to happen. It's just extraordinary to me that this guy would have been let out on a $1,000 bail. The assistant prosecutor apparently didn't argue for anything higher. The court allowed it to happen. And this guy had danger written all over his record. It's basic prosecutor 101. This guy should not have been out on the street.
They're very slow to walk out details from this case, Waukesha police officials. He was called a person of interest for the longest time, not calling him a suspect there. There's reports now that he was fleeing a domestic prior. That's where he was coming from. And then mows down. Still no motive. We haven't even learned that part yet. There's a lot of questions still with this case, and the biggest one is how on earth did a judge look at this and say, hey, this guy is, he's all right to go on $1,000 bail. I mean, literally a 7-year-old could look and say, hey, that's probably not the right guy to be out. Case in point. Here is the Milwaukee DA's statement that he put out, admitting fault and letting Darrell Brooks out on bond just days before the Christmas parade tragedy. It says here, the state's bail recommendation in this case was inappropriately low in light of the nature of the recent charges and the pending charges against Mr. Brooks. The bail recommendation in this case is not consistent with the approach of the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office toward matters involving violent crime, nor was it consistent with the risk assessment of the defendant prior to setting of bail, end quote. A statement by the DA, Vic, already put out before charges have been given out.
Well, we've seen this play many times before, haven't we? It's a rush to judgment. And in this very interesting case, it's protecting this suspect. And he's not a person of interest, a sole driver in a vehicle that attempted to kill many people and, in fact, was successful in killing more than a few, unfortunately. God rest their souls. But for some reason, the media seems to be protecting this individual as though he's not as bad as others who may have committed the same crime. Let's be real. Every one of those individuals who may have voted for that Milwaukee County District Attorney needs to take a cold look in the mirror and say, hey, did I know this was a consequence of what he was garnering votes to do? The answer is no. This is when reality clashes and slaps the face of idealism or utopianism. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This has to stop. And unfortunately, for other defendants in this county who may be perfectly situationed or positioned for release, they're going to get the short end of the stick now as a reaction to this action here. 5
killed, 4 of dancing grannies. And one, a lady walking with her parade from a bank that she was working for. Their Thanksgiving won't be the same ever, nor will their Christmases from here on out. Just a sad story, and we continue to follow the ones that are also in the hospital at this hour, children. Vikas Bajaj, Bob Bianchi, thank you both. Always great to hear from you.
Thank you.